Luthen travels all over the Star Wars universe to try to start an actual rebellion against the Empire, so it makes sense that his ship's also built for resistance. With many impressive features, Luthen's ship was made to help him escape from the Empire and fight if he had to. In this video, we'll discuss why his ship's way better than the Millennium Falcon and why Andor's the answer to a Star Wars flaw. First off, everything we know about the Hullcraft. Cassian was very surprised by Luthen's ship in earlier episodes of Andor, like Episode 4. He's flown a similar Hullcraft before. That's how he notices the ship's immense power and the unique droid mod that can figure out safe and unmonitored routes through hyperspace. This is a helpful way to get around the galaxy without getting the Empire's attention. But Andor Episode 11 shows how dangerous the Fondor can be when he has nowhere else to go. Not only was Luthen's ship strong enough to stop the Star Destroyer's tractor beam, but the Fondor also used powerful countermeasures that completely shredded the tractor beam. With the ship's turrets and twin lasers on either side, Luthen quickly takes out an entire wing of TIEs before jumping into hyperspace. This surprises the Imperial officers on board the destroyer. It's also important to know that the ship's droid brain could quickly make up fake ID codes. Even though it didn't work this time, it's still a beneficial way to avoid confrontation and keep Luthen's anonymity, which is very important. Up next, ships are a big part of the world of Star Wars. Ships have always been a big part of the Star Wars universe, since that's how the characters get from one planet to another. Not all of them have the same specs and functions. Luthen's ship is more than meets the eye, which the Imperial forces learned the hard way in Episode 11. After meeting with Saw Gerrera, Luthen was about to return to Coruscant, but he gets called out by an Imperial cruiser that was sent to check out ships that might be rebels. Luthen did his best to convince the captain of the Imperial cruiser that he was just a harmless traveler on a ship with an Alderaan address, but the ship pulled in Luthen's Hullcraft with its tractor beam. In the meantime, the captain told the crew to prepare for a group that would board the ship and check it out. And that's when Luthen showed what this ship could do. There have been a lot of changes made to the ship to make it able to fight, which makes the combat abilities even more impressive. It had a projectile system that could fire a series of projectiles that took out the tractor beam of a whole Imperial ship, and when the cruiser sent fighters after it, it could use strong turrets to destroy the Imperial fighters. These turrets were also very accurate, which suggests that the AI drone may have been in charge of them. Followed by other cool features of the ship. The laser on the ship's sides was the most surprising weapon because it could fire a straight laser beam that could cut through any attack. The laser's effects are similar to those of a lightsaber, and Luthen could cut through two fighters with it. It's also got built-in AI that makes it easy for Luthen to use the ship's function in any situation. Luthen's Hullcraft's surprisingly strong, so it could be one of the most powerful ships in the Star Wars universe. The Fondor's likely a custom-built Hullcraft that Luthen bought for the exact purpose it's being used for in Andor. This makes sense given all of its unique features. The Millennium Falcon was an average Corellian freighter, constantly being changed for smuggling, even though it has better than average weapons and a unique droid brain like the Fondor. Neither Lando nor Han changed the Millennium Falcon to help the Resistance, at least not in the Star Wars universe when it was first built. Moving on to what makes this ship so strong. Even though this ship wasn't meant to be a fighter that could move quickly and attack, it could surprise the Imperial forces with its speed and firepower. So it's likely that the Imperial cruiser didn't know that a Hullcraft could do what Luthen's ship could. This gives Luthen the element of surprise. If that ship had been made for fighting, the Imperial cruiser would have come up to it with its defenses up instead of thinking it was weaker than it was. Luthen's ship is a lot like the character in that he could also be more than meets the eye. We know that Luthen's a mysterious person who could be a Jedi or essential in the Star Wars universe, and the fact that Luthen's ship seemed as unassuming as he is, but then showed off its exceptional abilities could be a hint of his personality. Now let's look at why Andor's the biggest fix of Star Wars' biggest flaw. Even though all three of the original trilogy are well-known classics and pop culture icons, they've also been criticized. Both the original trilogy and the three prequels had problems. How the dialogue's handled has been a problem since A New Hope. No matter how well the movies were liked, many people thought some lines were awkward, corny, and poorly written. Even Alec Guinness and Harrison Ford, who were in the movies, have discussed the problem. But while this was a problem for the movies, it was not for Andor. With each episode, the Disney Plus show has given us memorable lines with a lot to say about how we feel. Almost every word of Luthen's Rael speech in Andor Episode 10 about what he's given up for the Empire shows how far Star Wars has come in response to this long-standing criticism. Not to mention, George Lucas agreed that Star Wars had a dialogue problem. Fans and actors are just some of the ones criticizing the dialogue in the original Star Wars movies and the prequels. Lucas himself has noticed that there is a problem. He's defended the dialogue at times, like when he said the tone of Star Wars was like a 1930s Western or a Saturday matinee serial. But he's also been willing to say that writing lines for his characters was hard for him. In 1999, Lucas said in an interview, "I'd be the first one to say I can't write dialogue." He said that he had other screenwriters polish the dialogue for A New Hope. Still, Andor has some of the most mature dialogue ever used in a Star Wars series. This is one of the many ways that the series is the most mature it has ever been. The fact that it doesn't hide the fact that its characters have and the amount of violence it uses, as well as the fact that it focuses on politics differently from how other Star Wars movies have been made. But even though Andor is willing to put in things that Lucas didn't want to, the series still fits into Lucas's bigger plan for the Star Wars future. After all, Andor is mostly a deeper look into the world Lucas made and the mythology he made up for. Let's learn more about CGI and other tech problems in the prequels. The dialogue wasn't the only problem that the prequels had, though. The trilogy was groundbreaking because it had all CG characters, all green screen movies, and used CGI in different ways, along with some accurate costumes and designs. That means that it could have been better, though. Many of us thought that the amount of CGI and its use was too much. Also, even though it was made 20 years ago, the CGI could have been better looking than what people in 2021 are used to seeing. It makes more sense to just say use less CGI. The Phantom Menace had many real-world effects, but also a lot of CGI that was often unnecessary. Some of us might have liked the trilogy better if it had used less blue green screen and more real sets. Coming up, even the acting was pretty terrible. The acting's one of the things that's been said most often against the trilogy. Even though Ewan McGregor and Ian McDiarmid were both excellent, not everyone else in the trilogy was as good. That is especially true of Jake Lloyd, Hayden Christensen, and Natalie Portman. The actors who played Anakin and Padme had no chemistry with each other. This is bad for all three movies, especially since the first two were essential to the story. Even as individuals, they could have done a better job, though Christensen's performance in Revenge of the Sith is better than most people think. Finally, Lucas's vision for Star Wars through Andor. From what Lucas has said before, it was clear that he wanted other filmmakers to build on his ideas. He said that his job was only to set up the world with the Wookiees and the different characters. Now, it was other people's job to build on it. Andor does an excellent job of exploring themes important to Lucas's stories by going deep into the lives of people who had to live under the Empire's harsh rules. Since Star Wars came out, it's no secret that George Lucas has been fascinated by and helped bring about a new era of film technology. And we can only expect new spin-offs to continue to impress. And on that note, that's a wrap for this video. What do you think of Luthen's ship compared to the Millennium Falcon? Is Andor better than the original trilogy? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.